Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining. This is not always a greatest time to get everybody together, but we just wanted to pull in Taryn to share some awesome resources for us to get this challenge started on the right foot. We know that consistency doesn't just start in the gym, and it's also what we do at home for our nutrition. So we wanted to kick this off with how you can calculate your macros, and who better than Taryn to share the information on how we can do that. So we're going to have Taryn walk us through that, and then also Dave from Lean Feast is going to join us at the end and share a little bit about Lean Feast in Meridian and what they're going to offer us as well. So stay tuned on that, and then yeah, I'm going to hand this over to Taryn.
Okay, I'm just going to, forgive me guys, I'm going to mute everybody just in case there's any kickback. Mute all. Yep, didn't mute myself. Okay, fantastic, good job. Okay, let me screen share, and I've done this presentation for a master class that I teach. Can you guys see that? Okay. Yeah, okay. I teach a master class on this, so I'm going to kind of do the quick and dirty on it, just so it's not going to take up everybody's time. So if there's any questions about any of this, just pop in the chat box, send me an email, text, Instagram message, whatever, if you need me to elaborate on something. But I really wanted to teach you guys, if you don't know how to already, to set your macros, because I think it is such an important tool to understand as you're going about your own journey. Everybody's got a different goal in the challenge, and we've been hearing them through the WhatsApp channel. It's been awesome. Pull-ups, gaining strength, just consistency, wanting to dial in nutrition, prioritize protein. They're all over the board, and they're awesome. And regardless of this challenge or the next one, or 5 years from now, or wherever you're at in life 10 years from now, this would still be relevant. So learning why, and also understanding how many macros you should be consuming for your goals will be really important. So, just kind of a fun little obvious remark here. Doing nothing is a surefire way to see no results. I mean, how many times have we all worked out in the gym, shown up to class 5-6 times a week, and being defeated when we step on the in-body scan, only to find that we didn't get the results that we expected, especially in a challenge. And sometimes it takes a couple challenges to get your feet wet and to get your awareness of, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in the gym, but it must be what I'm doing outside of the gym. And primarily we're going to talk about nutrition, but a lot of your other lifestyle behaviors matter, right? Your sleep, your hydration, who you surround yourself with, and if your weekend activities, we think we can work hard Monday through Friday and then like blow it on the weekend, and you literally can unwind everything you do on the weekend, and then start all over again on Monday, and how many of us are so tired of starting over on Monday? Anyways, just a quick background. I know a lot of you guys know my story, but some of you that'll be maybe chiming in for the first time on this challenge. I've been doing this for a really long time. Nutrition's been fascinating to me for over 10 years. I've actually been in the fitness industry for 16 years. This is a really, really old picture, but this little guy right here, he's now 16. And that's when I started my whole journey personally, just trying to understand how to change my body composition. And then as I got older and had my younger two, hormones took a role, and I won't dive into hormones, but I love talking about nutrition and, kind of the hormone component to it. So this is just kind of, what we're going to cover a little bit about tonight. Having kids, and especially having 3 girls, it's a really big priority for me to teach a healthy relationship with food. I mean, I grew up in the generation, I know a lot of you guys can relate to this, of diet culture, right? Like every diet under the sun, Weight Watchers, calorie counting, Atkins, paleo, Whole30, eating nothing, dropping carbs, only carbs, like we've done it all. And so my whole purpose and going back to school for nutrition is I wanted to understand the history of a lot of these diets and how they could be, what is the most sustainable route for somebody that's active, somebody that's going to go and work out, a minimum of 3 days a week. And, we're all here for that same reason, is that we share that common thread. We like to work out. Now we need to kind of have a better understanding about nutrition. So, I've gone through the gamut of my own journey, starting out postpartum. 2008's that top left corner. I was in CrossFit and I was so strong, but I was not like lean. I didn't have defined muscle because I was not eating according to what I wanted my body composition to look like. So once I kind of understood macronutrients and how much more relevant they were to the process, then I started to see my physique change. So, a lot of times we don't want to track. I mean, I've had a lot of clients who are like, okay, I want to work with you, but I'm not going to track my food. I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Because it is a tool, right? But a lot of times that fear and that, oh, it's too restrictive is more about having to kind of come clean with what you truly are eating and drinking. Because, like I said, you know what? We want to let loose on the weekends thinking, oh, I worked really hard Monday through Thursday. Friday's happy hour, Saturday's lazy, and we're going to go, whatever, bar hop or, just kind of kick back. And then we're not paying attention to what we're eating, and all of that makes a difference. Okay. So, again, I'm going to go really fast because I want to respect your guys' time. This is recorded, so if you want to go back and listen to anything, but I am truly going to walk you through how to calculate your macros tonight. But I want to just emphasize why I think macros are so important and why they are pertinent to anybody, regardless of what your goals are. If you want to gain muscle and if you want to drop body fat, those are two metrics that we take into consideration, especially part of the challenge, and utilizing the in-body scan. Those are three, being visceral fat would be something, for you personally, the individual, to take awareness and learn about. But when we're calculating the winners, we're looking at weight, skeletal muscle mass, and lean body or body fat percentage, and the adjustments that come with that. So understanding your macros is just being aware of what you're eating and how that is providing feedback. All of the food that you're consuming is just data. And so that's what I want you to think about: how you work out, how you sleep, what you eat, how what you do outside of the gym. Everything you do is data, and we're collecting that whole thing throughout the whole process. So, just kind of a quick macros 101. Your macronutrients are protein, fats, and carbohydrates. And every single food that is a protein, fat, or carbohydrate is attached to a calorie. So just, a little bit of math. You guys might remember this from health class, or maybe they didn't teach that in school. But protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. So when you go and think about reading a label, you can kind of like have some fun with, doing some basic math facts and calculating the calories based on how many grams of protein or carbohydrates or even fat. Obviously, fat's a little bit more of a dense macronutrient, so it comes equipped with 9 calories. So a little bit more. And so, that's where another fascination came into play with me and understanding keto, right? A lot of us have gone through that phase. Some of us kind of tended to deviate to that. So just being balanced is really going to be probably the best support and sustainable approach to your very own nutrition strategy. So a lot of us, and maybe you've heard from other fitness trainers or people you follow on Instagram or stuff that you've read, is that it's calories in versus calories out. And yes, that does come into play, and that is relevant. It's not necessarily the entire story, right? Because not every calorie is treated equal, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. But when we think about calories, and those of us that are in our mid 40s, early 40s into our later 50s, then you guys know what the whole calorie game was. We did the low fat, no sugar, basically zero taste, right? With just all sorts of preservatives and those terrible sugars that, we see everywhere now. But we talked about calories, right? Like it was all about calories. It was never about protein, fats, or carbohydrates. And I think a lot of people felt that counting macros was restrictive, but it was more if you're going to be a bodybuilder, right? And the popularity of it, or the awareness, I guess, of counting your macros did become a little bit more prominent in that industry because anyone that's doing a bodybuilding competition or a figure competition, um, understanding what you're consuming is really important part of the process, because they have to manipulate down to the ounce of water they consume when they're prepping for a competition. So it's not all the same. If you guys remember Slim Fast, you know, you got a 100-calorie snack pack, which is literally not food, right? When you look at the package of a lot of the foods on the shelves at the grocery store, and I will spare you going down the rabbit hole of food and all the packaged food and, you know, anyways, but if you look at the ingredients, then half of it on those packaged products, Slim Fast, these snack packs, which I don't really see them as much, but you'll find them in the diet section in the grocery store. A lot of it is a science experiment. Honestly, the words they're not even food, right? Like it might have like whole wheat flour. That might be the only thing we'll recognize. There's no true nutritional value that is attached to it. It's no longer a whole food. So when we talk about calories, we really want to attach those calories to a whole food. And that whole food is it either a protein, a fat, or a carbohydrate. And so this stuff is, I think, really necessary as we build into learning how to count our count our macros, because I think so many of us have different experiences with diets in the past. And so it's just one more thing that either is overwhelming or creates this diet mentality. So I want to be really clear that counting your macros is not short term. It's not something that I ever want you guys to think is, oh, I'm only going to do it for this challenge, right? Or I'm going to be going on my summer vacation, so I'm going to count my macros until I go. And then I'm just, you know, woo, forget about it. It's all you can eat when you're on vacation, right? And drink. But as you start becoming aware, you really open up this kind of window to food freedom, and you have a total different vision of what nutrition is and these different cravings for it, right? Because why work so hard in the gym and unwind all of that by going on vacation or going out to happy hour, right? So kind of removing it from any sort of diet, because what you do right now as you learn macros, again, I want you guys to think this is something you can still be doing 10 years from now, right? And the training we're doing in the gym is the training that we're doing for that 60, 70, 80-year-old self that we want to be. So I share with my clients a lot, you know, the reason, why are we doing this? Why are we talking about your diet and why are we talking about your workouts? Right? And they want to be a healthier version for themselves, for their families. They've had so many different roadblocks. They've had so many different relationships with food. They've sabotaged themselves along the way, where instead it's like, hey, why don't we kind of draw the line in the sand, and you're going to be thinking about the person you want to be 20, 30, 40 years, if you're lucky, from now, right? Like I look to my influence is my mom, right? She could barely get off the floor. She fell, and she has, and she's only 75. Like I don't want to be that person at that age. And I look to someone in the gym, like I look at Rob Gibson that comes into the gym, older gentleman, and he is in there pretty regularly. And I love seeing our older generation in there working out, because they're out playing tennis, they're riding mountain bikes, they're playing hockey, they're walking, they're hiking, like they're living an active life. And so seeing that is just motivation. And so I want you to think about those things as you're doing this challenge, or you're setting a goal from yourself. It's not just a short-term goal. It's not just so you can get into a bathing suit by this ends 4th of July or the day before. That's not the goal, right? I like to tell clients, like, I want you to always think that you could be 2 weeks out. So 2 weeks out could be like, you know, you get a phone call and someone's like, hey, pack your bags, we're going to Hawaii in 2 weeks. You know, does that panic set in? Like, oh my God, I got to get in a bathing suit. This is really going to suck. I got to, you know, diet. I got to, you know, drink water for basically the next 2 weeks and nothing else, and work out like crazy and count my calorie burn. No, like you are living your life to be 2 weeks out, because you're healthy enough that if you needed to fine tune so you felt a little bit better going into a vacation or going wherever, you're 2 weeks out. So that's just a really tight term that I've enjoyed for myself, because I feel like, hey, I'm not always going to be 100% with my diet, and I don't expect anybody to. But if I wanted to dial it in for 2 weeks, then I know I'd be pretty darn close to what I felt to be like a goal for myself. But I'm not going to live like that for the rest of my life. I can't see anyone, so if there is any questions, or, you know, Sandy, I'll just rely on you to chime in if or unmute yourself if
Yep. You're good to go.
Good. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff. We're going to talk about setting your macros. And I also want you to think about it. You are being your own nutritional scientist. So you get to be in the driver's seat. You get to control this whole process. Okay. There's a scale of what you can do when you are counting your macros. You can be super clean and follow as many whole foods, which is my recommendation. Or you can be like, hey, you know what? Whatever fits into my macros is going to work for me because that's about the capacity I have. And if that means you've got some healthy convenience, you've got some frozen foods, you've got prepared foods. I know that Dave's going to be on talking about Lean Feast. Having options is great. And as long as it fits within your macros, then you get to learn and decide what suits you, your lifestyle, your budget, your interests, but also how your body responds to it. Because just because it's a good protein doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be suited to how you feel. You might get an allergic reaction. You might get a stomach pain. You might, who knows, right? So Dan and Sandy sent out this calculator. So if you guys have it and you want to pull it up, awesome. If you don't have it and maybe haven't seen it yet, don't worry. You'll get a copy of it, but it's an interactive PDF. So you do need to have Adobe on your computer. I haven't tried it on my phone, to tell you the truth, because I just use it on my computer. But this is basically what we're going to go through so you can learn how to count your macros. Okay. So really quick, you're setting your calories. We're setting your total daily energy expenditure. And I'm going to explain what that is, but I'm going to take you through an example so you can apply it to yourself. This is a former client of mine that I worked with years ago. I use this as kind of a staple just because it's applicable to a lot of people. She was 150 pounds. She had her job, she has a desk job. So she's sitting for majority of the day at her desk working. She works out 4 hours a week. She goes to a boot camp, so she's not an F45er. But so if you take those calculations, her weight, and you multiply that by the 8 hour, or the 8 is just a multiplier that we're using for her activity level, which is not her physical activity. It's really like her day-to-day stuff. And then how many hours she is training. And when I say training, that's like pretty intense effort, right? So not just, oh, I go on a 45-minute walk every day. Like you're getting your heart rate up, you're really pushing yourself, challenging yourself, you're showing up for varsity today, you're going tomorrow. So, there's 4 hours of dedicated training in the gym. So that's what I'm considering as training hours. Walks, which I encourage everybody to be walking every single day. It's the most underrated cardio activity. We should be getting at least 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day, especially if you have a desk job. All right. So sidebar, I'll push that aside for a second. So calculate her estimated daily total daily energy expenditure to 1,800 calories. That is what she would need to maintain where she's at. 1,800 calories. Okay. So we'll take it a step further, but I'm going to explain what goes into your total daily energy expenditure. It's your basal metabolic rate. So it's the amount of energy your body requires just to exist, just to breathe, to sleep, to live, to sit at your desk, that kind of thing. It's also your thermic effect of food. So every food has an energy component to it, and your body puts out some energy to digest that food. And so if you think about, say, if you're having fish, it doesn't take as much energy in your body to digest fish as it would if you were having beef, right? Or if you were having a vegetable versus something a little bit more dense. So that's a thermic effect of food. Your non-exercise activity, and that's just like me talking with my hands, fidgeting, whatever, just maybe slight walking to the laundry room and back, just little things, right? And then of course the estimated calories that you're burning from a workout. Now I say that really lightly because I don't care how many calories, and you shouldn't either, how many calories you're burning when you walk into the gym. It's your effort when you come into the gym. How hard are you pushing yourself? You don't need to push yourself every single day. You don't need to do double workouts every single day to get great results. But that's just a part of the whole kind of equation to determine what your total daily energy expenditure is. And again, I'm going lightning fast on this, but I wanted to make sure you kind of had some premise behind some of the terminology that I use a lot. But again, if you need me to break it down a little bit more, don't hesitate to send me a message. Okay, so back to this, just to revisit her calculation, 1,800 calories. She wanted to cut weight, but to me, that was she wanted to drop body fat. So I could care less about the number on the scale. And I really want to encourage you guys to not put so much weight on the number on the scale, but more about what your body composition is, what your skeletal lean muscle is performing during this challenge, and your body fat percentage. The goal is to obviously see the increase in your skeletal muscle mass and a decrease in your body fat percentage. So if you're focusing on your nutrition, then you should be able to see those metrics change. And you know what? Your weight might actually stay the same. Because if you think about stepping on a scale at your house, your scale is measuring a mass. It doesn't know if it is a human with blood and water and organs and a full stomach and emotions, or if it's weighing a watermelon, right? Like it can't determine the difference. And yes, some of them are fancy and can determine whether how much water and body fat and all that kind of stuff. But just to take the emphasis away from that number that might make you panic when you step on it, think about just those two metrics, your skeletal muscle and your body fat percentage. Okay. So we put her in a deficit. So we're cutting back calories a bit, her overall needs to get her towards her goal for her body composition. So the multiplier is 0.8 because we put her at a 20% deficit because she has a desk job and she's not like lifting to her max effort when she goes and works out. So I have a little bit more history into understanding her workouts. They're not as intense as if she was showing up to F45 and we were sitting there like, hammering her in class and really pushing like you guys do, right? So I felt comfortable dropping her calories to this light because this is a really light calories. But don't forget, she sits at her desk for 8-9 hours a day. So you have to take that into consideration. So when we're taking that, now you've got that 1440 was her calorie needs, right? So now we need those calories to equate to protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So I put her protein multiplier at a 0.9. On average, you probably, you might need anywhere between 0.8 and 1, as a metric of 1 gram per ideal or your healthy body weight that you need. So this put her at 135 grams of protein. You guys, if you freak out, don't worry about it, okay? Like I'm going to talk to you about how to scale into it. If you're like, there's not a chance I could eat 135 grams of protein. Don't worry about it. This isn't something you're supposed to do tomorrow. Okay. We're going to kind of ease you into it. And then we calculate the fat. So we calculate the protein and then we take the fat. So she's a female and any middle-aged woman, I really want to see that fat at a minimum of 50 grams. So when I calculated it, and I kept this example so you guys could see it, it dropped it to 45 grams of fat. That's not a lot. So if you've got hormones and you've got stress and you've got life and females you're cycling and men you've got hormones too, you need to have enough body or enough fat consumption to support your brain function, your vitamin absorption, to balance your hormones and a whole host of other things that obviously healthy fats provide for us. So I really like to see that above 50 grams. And then if you do have autoimmune issues or any sort of fertility issues, then we want to be considerate of making sure that's a good, comfortable amount. But I also we can swing to the other side and have too much fat, and then your body can't metabolize it enough and utilize it appropriately for your goal of dropping body fat. It can hang on to it, just like having too much of a good thing, can backfire. So the proteins and the fats are already calculated. So your carbs kind of come out with the rest of whatever the calories are left. So we talked about protein had 4 calories per gram. So put us 540 calories. This is basic math right here. 45 grams of fat, we kept it there just for you simplicity here. Multiply that by 9 calories per gram. 405 are those two. So that leaves us with 495 calories left. And then when you divide that by the 4 calories for carbohydrates, she's at about 123 grams of carbs. So carbs are calculated just kind of, simple math and subtraction and division. But the good thing is this is all done for you if you use that calculator, the online calculator that Dan and Sandy sent out. How are we doing so far? Good?
Yep, doing awesome.
Okay, good. I'm like glazed over and everyone's like bored to tears, sleeping. I can't see you if you are anyway, so you're all good.
Oh, good. Well, it's recorded, Taryn, so most of the people are gonna probably hound you with questions later.
Okay, good. So that's kind of like the quick and dirty on how to set your macros. Oh, Dave's on. Awesome. And so, going into this data collection phase and talking about how to leverage the information and use it that is applicable to your lifestyle, right? And that's why, learning and approaching this as collecting data and solely collecting data. And even if you're just easing your way into this, into adding protein, because maybe you're consuming 50 grams of protein right now, right? And you're like, how am I going to get to 135 grams, Taryn? Well, you're going to get to that by just training yourself. Like, you might take these next 45 days to get to where your macros are, and you might even not even get there. It might take you 3 months, and that's okay, as long as you're really intentional and you're also recognizing where you can get that combination of macros to get to the point where you're feeling full and satisfied. You see that it is supporting you when you're working out, meaning your recovery is adequate, your sleep's great, you're seeing results on the scale because now you're nourishing your body appropriately. So when we're kind of going through this phase and someone's never counted macros before, I say hands down, focus on your protein. Start tracking, just play with it. And then, from there you can kind of decide how, what's next, how you're going to do it. So just starting with awareness, you're going to start tracking it so you can see how you feel based on what you're consuming and the types of protein sources and fats that you are consuming. Does it make you feel good? Does your stomach feel good? Are you having a bowel movement every day? All the things that are important aside from just, the vanity of your physique, right? So just be willing to be open-minded through this process, be willing to collect data and see how all of this is coming together for you, and know that you're working towards that kind of maintenance. That should be everyone's goal. That, again, you get to maintenance because if you got the phone call that in 2 weeks you're going to Bora Bora, you know what? Like, 2 weeks isn't very long, but you can do a lot of incredible things to your physique in 2 weeks if you dial it in, but you dial it in the right way. Again, I'm not talking about cutting out food groups or cutting calories significantly, but being diligent about what you consume. Um, I'm gonna pause this for a second because I know that Dave's on. I know that he was gonna share for a moment, and then I'll come back to this. So let me just stop screen sharing, and then Dave, I want to make sure to give you the floor so you can kind of talk to everyone about what you have for our F45 members.
There you go. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Looks like I need to upgrade my lighting like you, Taryn. I'm in the basement with the lights behind me, so maybe I'll work on that soon. That was fantastic. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dave. I own Lean Feast in Meridian. We are a brick and mortar meal prep healthy eating restaurant that's here to make your life easy. But on top of that, I have owned a CrossFit gym for 11 years and been a nutrition coach for 10 years. And everything that Taryn was just saying is exactly the way I teach it. We run macros for all our clients, and we teach everything the exact same way. So kudos to you. I thought that was a fantastic presentation. I did take a couple notes because I thought of like some tips and tricks that will help everyone on the call, right? Like reach their protein goal, especially. So the first thing that I came up with was we tell all our clients to break their total numbers into 4 like meals. 3 of them are their meals they normally eat, and then the 4th one is a buffer. So it's snacks, it's dessert, it's whatever, because then it makes like 140 grams of protein not a crazy number because it's like only 35. I just need 35 at breakfast, right, to get there. The second one was you'd be surprised how much protein you could drink in a day so that you're not full. So like I drink 10 to 20 grams of collagen protein in my coffee every morning. I drink a whey protein shake if after I work out or at some random time if I don't work out. And then a lot of days I'll drink a casein protein, which is like a slower absorbing protein shake before bed. And so like between the 3 of those, you're going to get like 60 or 70 grams of protein and you didn't even have to eat any. So like you won't be overly full and it's a lot easier to get there. Protein bar snack is usually pretty easy too, like because they all have like 25 grams of protein, 25 grams of carbs, around 5 grams of fat. And then the last thing I thought of when you were talking was that like the protein keeps you full. So then you won't eat garbage, right? You might have said that before I hopped on, but like a lot of people, they like don't eat enough protein and then they're starving at night and then they eat whatever's in their house and it's usually salty or carby. And so it ends up causing trouble. I do the same thing. So if I haven't had enough protein, so those were just like some tips I thought of. That I hope will help. But about Lean Feast, quickly, if you use like if you've never heard of Lean Feast, like I said, we're a brick and mortar meal prep restaurant. You can come to the store. We have a line that's like Chipotle. You pick protein and weight of protein and flavor of protein, and then you pick a carb. You pick a veggie. It goes in a container. It's good in your fridge for 5 days, and it microwaves in 2 minutes. So it makes eating healthy super easy. Typically, our female clients order like 4 to 6 ounces of protein, which is 25 to 35 grams of protein in a meal. Our standard serving of carbs is 4 ounces, but you can order less or more if you need more or less carbohydrates, and that's typically 30 to 40 grams of carbs in a meal. And then we've got 1 cup of veggies. If you order the things that are less carby, like not corn or beans or whatever, you'll be in the like 5 to 10 grams of carbs per meal. So the meals are super well balanced, super macro, micro, nutrient friendly, and we have like 25 different flavors that go on the meats, 10 carbs and 15 veggies. So like the world is your oyster. You can create anything. And the food is amazing. If you don't want to come to you can come to the store and build them in person. We advise people to do that the first time because you can taste test whatever you want. You can also order online for pickup. So you can just pop in for 2 seconds, grab them and leave. And you can also get delivery now from our website, leanfeast.com, direct to your door 6 days a week at any hour that we're open. So 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. We use DoorDash and Uber drivers. They have white label solutions. So we can get the food to your house in like 30 minutes. And there's no like DoorDash or Uber convenience fees, no tips, none of that. So to my house in Eagle, it's like $7 to get my meals. Because sometimes I don't even want to drive to my own store to order food for my family for the week, right? Because I have a 6-month-old baby I'm taking care of. So you can just get delivery direct to your house. We also now have a subscription option. So if you don't want to click all the buttons every week, you can do that as well, which is super awesome. The meals will just show up. And it's fully customer controlled. You can cancel anytime, push the next day, change a meal. There's no minimum for subscription. You could order 2 meals on subscription. We don't care. So that's also a really cool feature that we just added. And I guess the 2 last things are, if you've never ordered online from Lean Feast, if you use the code NC15, so NC15, you can get $15 off your first order. That does have a $50 minimum, but you're getting 35% off, right? That first one. And then if you use F45 Eagle as a code, you're going to get 10% off the entire life of the challenge. So for the next 6 weeks, you'll get 10% off all your orders. You can do that online. If you come to the store and tell us you're part of the challenge, my staff will give you that same 10% off when you're there. Any questions or anything I forgot, Taryn?
No, that was awesome. And I love that you have so many options and so much variety. And I think that's key for people to understand that there are a lot more available. convenience options. So not having to think of these gourmet meals, like being a nutritionist, I'm not a chef. I hate cooking. If the meal's not done in, 10 to 15 minutes, I can't get it done, then I probably won't prepare it unless it's a Sunday and I've got, a little bit more time on my hands. So I love that you've got that offer for us, and be able to extend that to the F45 members. So thank you.
Yeah, and the only other thing I thought of as you were saying that, because I know you have kids, is like we also sell everything in bulk. So if you want to do some of the work, or you want to plate it separately, or you want to, like, sometimes we'll do taco night and we'll actually saute the veggies and make tacos or burritos out of it and just portion it later. You can do that too. You could order like 12 ounces of taco chicken, a couple scoops of white rice, and some fajita veggies on the side. And then you don't have to go to the grocery store, shop for all that stuff, chop it all, get it ready, blah, 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 blah. It's just hot in, 6 minutes. And then your family can put it in a taco shell or a little mini tortilla or whatever if they want, and add their condiments.
Brilliant. God, way to make it even more convenient.
That's what we're here for. We're here to save you time. I was just reading the other day that like people spend 40 hours a month like shopping, prepping, cooking, cleaning, just for their eating, right? And we can solve that problem. You don't have to do any of the work.
I love it. Well, thank you for sharing that.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Sandy, I have a couple more slides. Should I just finish them off?
Yep, let's do it. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Okay, so having options, just to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Dave was sharing, having it just laid out for you when you're starting can be really helpful. It takes the overwhelm out of it, and then it's less of tracking all the intricate details. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception when it comes to tracking macros as a newbie, is that you have to take a look at your recipe and track everything that's on there, right? So simplicity, again, prioritize your protein. So you're going to Lean Feast and he's got it all laid out for you. You don't even have to really think about it. You just plug it into your MyFitnessPal, your First Form app, whatever you're using to track, or you write it down. But if you are prepping at home and you're baking some chicken, you've got some ground beef, bison, elk, whatever you eat that's your main protein source. And you're like, oh, but what about veggies? What about this seasoning? What about this? Just worry about the protein. Don't get caught up. I don't track vegetables. I'm not tracking how many peppers or carrots or pieces of kale I'm eating, which kale is pretty rare for me, but I'm not tracking all of that to a T, because I'm not going into a figure competition. So it's not important for where my life is at. So I hope that gives you permission to know that, okay, just track the main things, the bulky stuff, the stuff that's a little bit more calorie dense. And that's going to be obviously your protein, your carbs, and your fats, but also be aware of any marinades, seasonings, usually marinades or dressings that you're putting on there. Those do tend to add up and can make an impact. So, but those are the things that you will start to learn as you track your results. But this is just a nice visual. And, fortunately, the men tend to have a little bit more static. Sometimes they'll have the ups and downs too, depending on where you're at in life with stress and just, whatever. That weight's going to fluctuate day in and day out. And this is really true for females, especially females that are still cycling. You're going to see a different weight at the beginning of the month than you might, the middle or the end of the month. And you're like, I haven't changed anything. If anything, I've been a little bit more diligent. And sometimes it could be the way the wind blows, right? It could be, you got 90 minutes less of sleep, or you got an interrupted sleep. Maybe you didn't drink enough water. Maybe you went to bed and you read your phone and you got stressed out before you went to sleep. And so you didn't have a calm, restful sleep. There's so many different things that can go into your weight fluctuation. So again, focusing on lean skeletal muscle mass and your body fat percentage will make such an impact. Okay, these are the last few ones. And again, you guys probably can make sense of this or do this on your own, but this is just a quick, have a plan, don't come in this like throwing spaghetti at the wall, but just have some sort of plan. Know what you're shopping for when you go to the grocery store. Make a plan maybe once or twice a week just for simplicity, and order online at Lean Feast. Go in and check out the store, check out the options. I know he's got some samples in there so you guys can kind of see what you're getting, what flavors are like and what, appeals to you. But just, make it pretty simple. I always suggest having 5 proteins on hand that you can either keep in the freezer, pull out the morning of, let it thaw, and just have it be super simple. And you've got your veggies, you've got maybe some rice that you can cook the week for the week, just things to make your life easier. We're all busy. We're going into we're in a busy season right now at the end of school for many of us. Summers, we're on the go. So having something simple can be a huge saving grace. So just have a meal plan or something that that's a visual for you, so you're not just going, what am I going to eat tonight? It's 4 o'clock. Shoot, I didn't prepare anything. Guess what? I'm just gonna order Chick-fil-A. Like, heaven forbid, don't do that. Okay, not all the time. Anyways, this has to fit into your lifestyle, your family dynamic, your culture, your capacity, right? And that's when exploring healthy convenience, that's when lean feast comes into play. That's when some things just make sense because they're healthier than going through the drive-through at Starbucks or McDonald's or any fast food restaurants, because there are plenty here. God, a good salad place would be great every once in a while, but hey, we'll work with what we got. Anyways, last thing I wanted to share, because a couple of you guys had asked how we could work together. So this is my just a totally different offering than I've done in the past, just because it's summer. But for $99, I'm offering a 45-minute private coaching call for any F45 members that opt in. We'll have a private WhatsApp channel so we can ask any and all questions. I'll share things, tips, tricks, that kind of stuff will happen in that private channel. And you'll also get my 7-day jumpstart guide. So it'll have that food list. It'll have 7 days of different macro-friendly meals that are pretty standard staples in my diet. And also the macro calculator built in there as well, with different, seasonal things, salads, smoothies that you can kind of put together on your own. So that is something, if you're interested, send me a message and we can talk details. Other than that, I just want you guys to start tracking, right? If you've never done it before, just start tracking. Write it down, get a notes section in your phone, take photos. Even if you just start taking pictures of your food, just because you're too overwhelmed to even write it down, just start being aware of what you're doing. Be patient, be consistent, be disciplined, but be honest. Okay, just be honest in the process. Don't be like, well, if I don't track it, then, then it didn't happen. As you're like shoveling, 10 true fruits in your mouth, right? Like, be mindful of it. Alcohol matters. So if you are going to consume alcohol, just plan for it, right? Or just know that, hey, you are going to consume alcohol. Fine, great. That's part of your lifestyle and that's okay. It just might take longer because alcohol will have an impact on your body composition in some ways, somehow, depending on what you decide to drink. So, okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. But if there is any questions, you guys want to unmute yourself and ask. Oh, Dave, he's already answering all my questions. They got salads. Okay, see, Dave for the win. Everything. Love it.
That was awesome, Taryn. Thanks for that. You called me out because I definitely enjoy too many true fruits at the end of my meal sometimes. So,
Well, in moderation.
but I was just going to share one thing that you taught me that really helped was just reverse engineering my meals. So when tracking, like if I have everything planned, just track everything beforehand and input it in. And that way I'm like, okay, this is what I'm eating. If I'm going to add anything else, then, I'm adding on top of what I've already said I was going to eat and hitting my macros. So it just helped me be more conscious of what I'm going to add, eat even more on top of what I had already planned. So it just makes you think twice. And it's okay. It's okay to do that once in a while, maybe not every day, right? So yeah, that I just wanted to share. That was a handy tip that you shared once before.
Once upon a time. Yep. Reverse engineer your days and just like everything's okay. Like nothing has to be off limits. If you have a favorite cookie that you make or is nostalgic to you or you look forward to, like sometimes it's the experience. And going out to dinner with your spouse or your girlfriends, like as long as you're being mindful and it's an experience that you're led with instead of like, oh, I can't eat that. I can't do that. Be reasonable about it. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to go, mozzarella sticks and, chicken wings, fried chicken wings, be a little bit considerate. If it's important, maybe it's not. So that's all I got.
No, that's great. Well, I appreciate your time, Taryn, and yours, Dave, and everybody that was on this call. We obviously recorded this, so I know this was a hard time for many people to join. So Dan and I will send an email with the recording to the rest of the challenges, and then anybody else that wanted to join. And then if anybody does have questions, feel free to respond to the email, and we can point you in the right direction, whether it's to Taryn or to Dave or to any of us. So yeah, I think that's all we got.
Awesome. Record time. We did great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
being
me.
on. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jason.
See you soon.
See you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.